You're listening to Crystal Clear English Podcast. Learn English the crystal clear way. Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome everyone to the deep dive. Our mission here, as always, is really to cut through all the noise, bypass that information overload we all feel, and just deliver the most important actionable insights straight to you. And today, we're diving into something really quite revolutionary, I think, for anyone looking to truly master English. It's this powerful technique, really dynamic, that promises to sharpen your speaking, your listening, and get this, even your memory, all at the same time. If you've ever felt stuck, maybe you're just not progressing fast enough in your language journey, well, what we're about to share could honestly be the game changer you've been hoping for. It's a method that it seems almost deceptively simple when you first hear about it, but the power underneath, it's immense. It really transforms that passive learning into active, embodied fluency.
It really is fascinating. What's so captivating about this approach is how it manages to synthesize several really crucial aspects of language acquisition, puts them together into one cohesive and frankly profoundly effective practice. We've genuinely seen firsthand how it makes just such a profound, lasting difference for learners at all levels, from absolute beginners right up to quite advanced speakers who just want to refine their accent, get that natural flow. It's not just hitting one isolated area, not at all. It tends to trigger this cascade of interconnected improvements, building a really robust, intuitive foundation for genuine fluency. It's almost like finding a cheat code for your brain in a way.
Exactly. A cheat code. I like that. So our mission today is crystal clear. We're going to fully explore what this incredible method actually is, why it's so uniquely powerful, so effective, and most importantly, the practical bit, how you can integrate it, seamlessly into your daily routine to see really dramatic, tangible improvements in your English. So get ready for clear, actionable steps and maybe some surprising insights too that might just shift your perspective on what's possible in your own learning journey. We'll even tackle some common hurdles and share a few insider tips just to make sure you get the absolute most out of this. All right, let's kick things off then. The absolute core. What exactly is this technique we're hyping up, and why is it considered, so potent for language learners? The method, the technique, it's called shadowing. Now, if that term sounds a bit, mysterious, don't worry, we're going to shed light on it completely. At its heart, shadowing is it's an imitation technique, pure and simple. It involves listening really intently to native English speakers, and then almost instantly, right away, repeating what they say, mirroring their speech as closely as humanly possible. Think of it like being the speaker's actual shadow. You're copying their intonation, that natural rhythm they have, the pauses, the words themselves, all in real time, right as they're saying them. This isn't just like repeating a phrase after you hear it or memorizing a sentence from a book and saying it. No, this is active. It's dynamic. It's real-time mimicry. And that real-time element, that's what makes it so uniquely powerful for organic language learning. You're not just passively taking information in. You're producing it the very moment you hear it, forging this immediate link between your ear and your mouth.
Precisely. And the core mechanism, the reason shadowing is so remarkably effective, it lies in its ability to forge this direct, almost instantaneous bridge between passive listening and active speaking. Traditional language learning often involves a fair bit of conscious translation, doesn't it? Internal process. And you hear something, your brain sort of instinctively translate it back to your native language. Then you formulate a response there, then translate that back into English, and only then do you actually speak. And all that creates delay, right? A kind of friction point that really hinders natural conversation. Shadowing, because it forces you to immediately imitate, it effectively bypasses that whole conscious translation loop. It just sidesteps it. It trains your brain and, your vocal apparatus, your mouth, your tongue to work together in a much more direct, intuitive, almost automatic way. You start internalizing the fundamental patterns of English, the subtle sounds, the natural rhythms, where the stress falls in a sentence, without needing to intellectualize it first or analyze it. This direct imitative process helps build what we often call muscle memory for the language. Think about, say, a musician developing muscle memory for tricky chords or fast scales. They're not thinking about each finger movement individually, are they? It just flows. Shadowing applies that exact same principle to making speech sounds. It's about training your mouth to produce the sounds and your ear to recognize them kind of in tandem, simultaneously. It creates this incredibly efficient, powerful dual training process that really solidifies those linguistic pathways in your brain.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Because, in our observations, our research, we've identified basically 4 major ways that shadowing acts as an absolute game changer for your English. It's not just one single benefit. Not at all. It's multifaceted. It profoundly impacts, well, pretty much every critical aspect of fluency, especially those bits that often feel like the most stubborn hurdles for English learners. These are honestly breakthroughs in language acquisition that can fundamentally change how quickly and how effectively you progress. So let's delve into these pillars of power, because understanding them, that's the key to unlocking shadowing's full potential for you.
Okay, let's dive deep into the first pillar then. Enhanced pronunciation. This is an area where so many learners, maybe without even realizing it fully, struggle quite a bit. Traditional methods might give you lists, maybe minimal pairs, or rules about phonics, but shadowing, it offers a direct, hands-on, experiential solution. It directly tackles pronunciation by teaching you the correct sounds, the intonation, the stress patterns, naturally, just through direct mimicry. So instead of just learning abstract rules like, oh, the stress goes on the second syllable here, or this vowel should sound like this, you're actually doing it. You're mimicking the authentic sounds, the natural rise and fall of the voice, the intonation contours, and the precise word and sentence stress of a native speaker. In context, for instance, imagine a native speaker says, today is a beautiful day, with a bit of energy. When you shadow, you're not just repeating the words, you're trying to replicate that slight emphasis, that stress, on beautiful. Maybe the rising tone if it's excited versus a flatter tone if it's just a statement. Or how is often gets linked, sounding almost like Isa. This active auditory vocal feedback loop helps you correct those common non-native speech patterns, the ones that often make it harder for native speakers to understand you easily. It really tackles subtle but crucial things like the schwa sound, that super common unstressed vowel, like the A in about or the E in taken. It's notoriously tricky to master just from rules, but you can pick it up intuitively through consistent shadowing. You start to grasp these nuances, refining how you articulate sounds, making your speech much clearer, much more natural, and ultimately just easier for people to understand. It's a direct feedback loop that, frankly, static textbooks just can't offer.
That makes so much sense. Yeah, it's like learning to sing by listening to your favorite singer. Trying to match every note, every little nuance, even the breaths they take. So, okay, if it's training your mouth to make those precise sounds, does that also mean your ear gets better at actually catching them in the first place? Because for so many people, that feeling of, oh, I just can't understand fast English is such a huge barrier. And this brings us perfectly, actually, to the second pillar, improved listening skills. When you actively produce the sounds yourself, even just by mimicking, it creates this powerful kind of reciprocal relationship in your brain. You become remarkably better at understanding native level speech. Why? Because you've actually felt the physical sensation of making those sounds yourself. Think about it. When you're shadowing, you're not just passively hearing, you're actively dissecting the sounds, the flow, as you try to reproduce them right away at speed. This trains your auditory processing system. It learns to keep up with the natural speed of conversation.
And to recognize all those common reductions and elisions, sounds running together that native speakers use automatically, things like gonna instead of going to, or wanna for want to, or even didja for did you. These aren't just slang, right? They're just natural parts of spoken English. So no more feeling completely overwhelmed or lost when a native speaker talks quickly. Your brain gets attuned, your ear gets sharper, you start picking up words and expressions much more quickly, even in like rapid fire dialogue. This is really how you develop that crucial passive understanding, the kind that underpins all fluent communication. It allows you to follow complex conversations, enjoy movies, maybe without needing subtitles constantly, and just truly absorb spoken English.
Absolutely. And that auditory attunement, that sharpened listening, it leads us straight into the third pillar, building speaking fluency. This is all about making your speech smoother, more automatic, significantly less hesitant. A really pervasive barrier for many English learners is that moment of hesitation, where you get caught in that mental loop, right? Thinking your native language, translating it, then painstakingly trying to articulate it in English. Shadowing directly attacks this barrier head on. By constantly linking what you hear with immediate vocalization, you're training a direct, uninterrupted pathway from comprehension straight to speech production. It's very similar, actually, to how a musician practices scales or chord progressions over and over. Until they can play them flawlessly without conscious thought, without thinking about each individual note, you're building automaticity. It dramatically reduces the cognitive load, the mental effort of constructing sentences from scratch every single time. When you practice shadowing consistently, you'll start to find that common phrases, grammatical structures, even entire sentence patterns, they just start to flow more naturally from your mouth. without you having to consciously assemble each piece. And this leads to a remarkable increase in confidence because you're less focused on how to say something and more focused on what you actually want to convey. It cultivates that intuitive leap from thought straight to spoken word, allowing for a much more natural, much more effortless conversation flow.
And wrapping up our 4 pillars, we have something incredibly important, though maybe less immediately obvious: boosting memory. Forget about trying to cram endless vocabulary lists that just seem to vanish overnight. Shadowing genuinely helps you remember new phrases and vocabulary faster and, crucially, more effectively. And here's the fascinating part why. It's because it engages multiple senses and cognitive functions all at once, simultaneously. You're not just listening, that's auditory or maybe reading subtitles, visual. You're also speaking, that's vocal motor. You're actively mimicking the emotion in the voice, and you're often absorbing the context too, which is kind of kinesthetic and emotional engagement. This multisensory, active, embodied learning, it creates incredibly stronger, more resilient memory traces for new words and expressions. So instead of trying to memorize isolated words from a list which often feel disconnected and just fade away quickly, you're learning chunks of language. These are natural groupings of words that frequently go together. Things like, "What's up?" or "Could you please pass the salt?" or "I'm really looking forward to it." When your brain learns these chunks, it stores them as single retrievable units, which makes them much easier to recall and deploy appropriately when you're actually talking to someone. This means you're building a practical, ready-to-use lexicon, one that's kind of wired for immediate application, rather than just having a passive dictionary stored somewhere in your head. It's learning that truly sticks because it's deeply embedded. So, okay, we've covered the incredible why behind shadowing. We understand its profound impact: pronunciation, listening, fluency, memory, all the big ones. But now let's get really practical. What does this all mean for you right now? How do you actually do it? How do you put this powerful technique into practice? Well, good news. We've got a clear, step-by-step roadmap that you can start using today to seamlessly incorporate shadowing into your daily English learning routine and really turn this abstract knowledge into tangible progress.
Okay, let's start with step 1. Choose the right material. This is absolutely foundational. It can really make or break your initial experience, honestly. You want to use clear, high-quality audio sources. Think about well-produced English podcasts like this one, hopefully, or reputable audiobooks, maybe professionally recorded YouTube videos. The clarity of the audio is paramount, absolutely key, because you need to be able to clearly discern every sound, every nuance of pronunciation, every little shift in intonation. Now, if you're just starting out, or perhaps if you find typical native level speech a bit, well, overwhelming at first, that's fine. Begin with content that uses slower, very clear English. There are many resources out there specifically designed for English learners. Podcasts like, say, English as a Second Language podcast, or materials from Voice of America Learning English. They often speak at a slightly reduced pace. These can be really excellent entry points to build your confidence before you tackle faster content. The key principle here really is quality over sheer quantity, especially when you're just building the habit. And critically, maybe most important for sticking with it. Try to find content that genuinely aligns with your personal interests. If you love cooking, find an English cooking show or podcast. Into tech, look for tech reviews. History buff, documentaries. This helps sustain your motivation massively. It makes the practice feel less like a chore, doesn't it? And more like an engaging, even enjoyable activity, which naturally boosts your consistency. Then, as you progress, you can start challenging yourself with more complex stuff, maybe documentaries, debates, even fast-paced comedy.
Right, good material is key. So once you have your chosen audio, it's time for step 2, listen first. Now, this initial passive listening phase, it is absolutely crucial. Please don't skip this step. Before you even attempt to speak or shadow, just play the audio through, at least once, and listen carefully. No attempt to repeat or imitate yet. Your main goal here is simply comprehension. Try to grasp the overall context. What's being said? Are there any new words or phrases that jump out at you? Can you understand the main idea? The speaker's tone, are they happy, serious, sarcastic? The general flow. This kind of preloading your brain helps you get familiar with the content so that when you do go back to shadow, you're not struggling to understand and imitate at the exact same time. That's too much cognitive load. It's really about setting yourself up for success, building that initial layer of understanding first so you can then focus purely on the mimicry when you start speaking.
Yeah, it's like mapping out the terrain before you actually start hiking it. Good analogy.
Exactly. So after you've listened for comprehension, you're ready for the core action. Step 3, repeat. Immediately. Play the audio again. But this time, you speak along with the speaker, like a true shadow. And we really do mean immediately. You want your voice to be almost like an echo, trailing just a fraction of a second behind the native speaker, almost overlapping them, in fact. The focus here isn't just on saying the words correctly, it's on imitating everything you hear. Their tone of voice, their speed, the emotion they convey, their unique rhythm, even their natural pauses and breaths, if you can catch them. Are they speaking with excitement? Or maybe a sense of urgency, or perhaps a calm, reflective tone? Try your best to convey that same feeling in your own voice. This is where you really start to capture the musicality of English, going beyond just individual sounds to embrace the natural rise and fall, the flow of connected speech. Now, don't worry about achieving perfection at this stage. Not at all. The goal is simply to keep up and mimic as best as you possibly can in that moment. The more you immerse yourself in this direct imitation, the more natural the rhythm and intonation of English will start to feel for you. It seeps in.
Okay, keeping up, mimicking everything. Now, for a step that I think truly elevates your shadowing practice, from just good to absolutely great. Step 4, record yourself. Now, this might feel a little bit uncomfortable, maybe even awkward at first. Listening back to your own voice, yeah, it can be weird. But trust us, it is an incredibly powerful, almost magical feedback loop. Use your smartphone, everyone has one, or a simple computer program. Any recording device you have easily available. Capture your voice while you are shadowing. Then take a moment. Listen back to your recording and compare it directly with the original audio source. You'll probably be surprised, maybe even shocked, but definitely insightful at what you hear. This direct comparison will immediately highlight areas where you can dramatically improve. Maybe you missed a subtle rise in intonation at the end of a question. Or perhaps a particular word wasn't pronounced quite right. Maybe your rhythm was slightly off compared to the speaker. This step fosters profound self-correction. It dramatically accelerates your progress because you're actively identifying your specific weaknesses and hearing them in real time. It's like having a personal, always available pronunciation coach built right into your practice, giving you objective insights that your own internal ear might just miss while you're speaking. It's often where the real breakthroughs happen for people.
Absolutely. And moving on to refining your technique, making it manageable, and maximizing the impact, we have step 5. Focus on small segments, especially when you're just starting out, or maybe if you're working with particularly challenging materials, something fast or complex. Resist that urge to try and shadow long stretches of audio right away. Instead, begin with very short clips, maybe just 5 to 10 seconds long. That's it. This strategic approach prevents you from feeling overwhelmed, and it allows you to really concentrate to focus intently on precise imitation of every little nuance within that short chunk. You can replay these short segments multiple times, 5 times, 10 times, even 20 times if you need to, perfecting your mimicry until it feels truly natural. Then, as you gain confidence, as your skills visibly improve, you can gradually increase the length of the segments you attempt to shadow. Maybe move to 15 seconds, 20 seconds, perhaps even 30-second clips. This iterative approach builds your confidence and your mastery layer by layer. It ensures you're not biting off more than you can chew, and it allows you to truly master these small linguistic building blocks before you seamlessly move on to larger, more complex structures. It's all about building strong foundations, piece by piece.
Makes sense. Small steps build big results. And finally, the golden rule. The one that applies to seeing real, measurable results with shadowing, or, frankly, with any new skill you're trying to master. Step 6. Practice regularly. Consistency. It is absolutely non-negotiable here. Now, you don't need to dedicate hours and hours every single day to shadowing. Not at all. In fact, we found, and many learners report, that just 10 to 15 minutes of dedicated shadowing practice daily is often more than enough to see significant, noticeable improvement over time. The true power lies in the regularity, not necessarily the grueling duration of each individual session. Make shadowing a non-negotiable part of your daily routine. It's like brushing your teeth or having your morning coffee. Treat it like that. Frame it maybe as a daily linguistic workout, a quick session for your English muscles. Those consistent short bursts of practice, they compound exponentially over time, and they will yield far greater results than trying to do long, infrequent, exhaustive sessions where you burn out. It really is the daily drip that carves the stone, isn't it? Not the sudden flood.
You're listening to The Deep Dive. And just a quick reminder, we're absolutely committed to bringing you the clearest, most actionable insights to help you master English. If you're finding value in these deep dives, if this is helping you, we'd be so grateful if you'd follow and subscribe to this channel. It means more amazing content helping you learn faster and smarter, turning learning into, well, a genuine adventure.
Right, so now that we've laid out the comprehensive how-to, let's try and bring it to life a bit more, with some real-world applications and maybe a few insider tips just to make your shadowing practice even more effective, even more impactful. Okay, Consider this simple audio sample, something you might hear on a YouTube channel intro or short podcast clip. Think about how you'd actually shadow this. Good morning. Today is a beautiful day to learn something new. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. They help you grow. Now, when you shadow this, you wouldn't just repeat the words flatly, would you, in a monotone? No. You'd be intently focusing on mirroring that bright, positive energy, the upward intonation on good morning. You'd strive to replicate the slightly emphatic, maybe lingering delivery of beautiful day, stretching out those vowel sounds a bit to match the speaker. Then you'd try to embody the encouraging, reassuring tone of don't be afraid to make mistakes, they help you grow, capturing maybe the gentle downward inflection at the end, which signals completion and a kind of shared wisdom. It's really about capturing that entire emotional and tonal package, all those subtle nuances, not just the individual syllables in the words. This kind of holistic approach is what transforms basic repetition into truly effective embodied language acquisition. It makes your speech not just correct, but genuinely natural and expressive.
That's a fantastic example. Yeah, really digging into the emotional layer, the melody of the language, which you're right is so often overlooked in traditional learning. And it's not just theoretical, is it? We constantly hear about people genuinely using shadowing to transform their English abilities. We often hear conversations like this one, actually, which illustrates that practical shared experience. Liam might say, hey, have you actually tried that shadowing technique we talked about to improve your English? And Olivia responds, oh, absolutely, Liam. Yeah, I've been doing it for a few weeks now. I actually practice with English podcasts during my commute, on the train.
Yeah.
It's made such a difference, honestly. Especially I notice it with my pronunciation. Like I can hear myself making more of those sounds correctly now, and my R's feel much smoother way than Liam. That's awesome. Yeah, I had a similar experience. For me, the biggest breakthrough was when I finally started recording myself. Felt a little bit silly at first, gotta admit. But then I'd listen back, compare it to the original speaker, and wow, I could hear exactly where my mistakes were, or maybe where my rhythm was just slightly off. It's like having this hidden teacher. Olivia agrees.
Oh, I totally get that. Yeah, the self-correction part is huge. But honestly, the most surprising benefit for me has been how much it's built my speaking confidence. Before, I'd hesitate so much, always searching for the right word. Now, phrases just seem to, I don't know, pop out more naturally. It feels less like I'm translating in my head and more like I'm just speaking, Liam adds. Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? How it trains your brain to just go for it. And I found it helps with remembering new vocabulary too, because you're saying the words in context, right? It's like they stick better somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And Olivia concludes, exactly. It's not just some boring drill. It's really making the language flow. It's definitely become like a non-negotiable part of my daily routine now. See, this kind of extended exchange, it perfectly illustrates the practical, tangible benefits that real learners are experiencing every day.
It highlights how shadowing directly improves pronunciation, how it boosts memory for words in context, and crucially, how it builds that essential speaking confidence, making conversations feel more natural, less daunting. It's a really powerful testament, I think, to the daily transformations people are seeing.
Absolutely. And to help you get started immediately, to harness these benefits right away, we've put together some practical exercises, things you can implement today, building directly on the steps we've just outlined. Okay, exercise 1. Shadow a podcast. Pretty straightforward. Choose a short clip, maybe just 2 minutes long, from any English podcast that you find interesting, and make sure it matches your current comprehension level. Don't pick something impossibly difficult at first. Listen to it once, just for overall comprehension. Make sure you get the gist, understand the main ideas, maybe note any new vocabulary, then shadow it. Aim for at least 3 times through. Focus on capturing the rhythm, the intonation, the speed. Podcasts are excellent for this, really, because they offer natural conversational English on just a huge array of topics, exposing you to authentic speech patterns, maybe some slang, idiomatic expression stuff you often won't find in textbooks. You could try a storytelling podcast for narrative flow, or maybe a news podcast for clearer, slightly more formal diction. Right. Exercise 2, record and compare. For this one, pick a short segment from a YouTube video. Maybe a news report from a reputable source like the BBC or NPR, or perhaps a product review or a short interview. TED Talks are great for concise, clear speech too. Record yourself shadowing it. Then listen back to your recording, comparing your voice directly with the original speaker. This immediate self-assessment, as we said, is incredibly powerful. Pay close attention to specific elements. Did your intonation rise correctly at the end of that question? Did you manage to connect words smoothly like the native speaker did? Did you place the emphasis, the stress, on the correct syllables? This allows you to pinpoint exactly where your pronunciation or your rhythm or your intonation deviates, enabling really targeted, precise correction and consequently much faster improvement. And exercise 3, daily shadow routine. This is about integrating shadowing seamlessly into your existing media consumption habits. Dedicate just 10 minutes each day, that's all, to shadowing short clips from diverse sources. This could be, say, snippets of dialogue from a TV show or a movie you enjoy. Use subtitles initially if that helps and try without. Or a short news report you read online that also has audio. Maybe even a section of an English audiobook you're listening to anyway. The variety is key here. It keeps it engaging, and it exposes you to different accents, different speaking styles, different vocabulary sets, and different registers, formal versus informal language. This makes your practice really holistic and comprehensive. Don't underestimate the power of that consistent, even brief exposure across lots of different contexts.
Those exercises provide a fantastic starting point, really practical ways to build a robust shadowing practice. But, to truly refine your technique, to really maximize your results, here are some essential insider tips, little pointers for effective shadowing that we've gathered from watching countless successful learners. First, and maybe counterintuitively, start slow. Resist that urge to rush, to try and keep up with fast speech immediately. Accuracy should always be your primary focus, especially right at the beginning. It's far, far better to shadow a short, clear segment perfectly getting every sound, every rhythm right, than it is to rush through a longer, more complex one, making numerous mistakes. Build that foundation of precision first. Speed will naturally follow as your muscle memory develops. Don't force it. Second, use subtitled videos strategically. This can be incredibly helpful, particularly for beginners, or when you're tackling new, maybe more challenging material. Having the subtitles there allows you to bridge any immediate comprehension gaps. It ensures you know exactly what words are being spoken, which can be immensely reassuring and supportive during those initial shadowing attempts. However, as you improve, try to gradually reduce your reliance on them. Eventually, try shadowing completely without them to really push and train your ear. Third, focus intently on pronunciation and musicality. Now, this might sound obvious, but it's so crucial to actively concentrate on copying the speaker's stress patterns, their intonation contours, their natural rhythm, not just the individual words themselves. Remember, language isn't just about the words on the page. It's profoundly about the melody, the flow, the emphasis that conveys subtle meaning and emotion. That's where true native-like speech really emerges. It's what differentiates a merely proficient speaker from someone who sounds genuinely natural. So, listen for the tune of the sentences, not just the lyrics. And finally, repeat difficult parts relentlessly. Don't be afraid to hit rewind. Replay those tough segments multiple times. If a particular phrase, maybe a specific tricky word, or a certain intonation pattern feels challenging or unnatural for you to produce, isolate it. Loop that short section. Practice it over and over again, focusing laser-like on that precise difficulty until it truly feels natural and effortless for you to produce. These focused repetitions on your specific sticking points, they are the refinements that turn good practice into truly great transformative results. They often represent your breakthrough moments. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's abundantly clear, isn't it? Shadowing isn't just another language exercise you add to the pile. It's a strategic, deeply effective pathway, a way to make your English smoother, much more natural, and significantly more confident. It's a powerful technique, it's accessible to everyone, and it truly works on multiple levels all at once, transforming your speaking, boosting your fluency, sharpening your listening, refining your pronunciation, often in ways that will genuinely surprise you. It's really about building that direct, intuitive connection with the language, bypassing those common learning bottlenecks we all face.
Yeah, and if we sort of connect this to the bigger picture of language acquisition, it really does raise an important question, doesn't it? About how we approach learning in general. This simple, consistent act of imitation, when you integrate it thoughtfully into your daily routine, it can unlock so much untapped potential. It can dramatically accelerate your journey towards genuine fluency. The real power, I think, lies in its elegant simplicity, coupled with its incredible effectiveness when you practice it consistently. It leads to this almost subconscious mastery that feels less like hard effort and more like, well, natural growth.
We really hope you found this deep dive insightful and, above all, incredibly practical, something you can use right away. If you're eager for more insights like this, more actionable strategies to really empower your learning journey, please make sure to follow and subscribe to The Deep Dive. We're constantly exploring ways to make learning faster, smarter, and honestly more enjoyable for you. Thank you so much for listening to the Crystal Clear English podcast. And remember, as we've explored today, learning another language is like becoming another person.